Coronation Street has revealed that Todd Grimshaw's nearest and dearest may soon start questioning the true nature of his relationship, a development that could put Theo Silverton firmly in the firing line. As part of a disturbing ongoing plot, Todd has been enduring both emotional and physical mistreatment at the hands of his manipulative fiancé, Theo. Although those closest to Todd remain unaware of the full extent of his ordeal, he has continued to suffer in silence, choosing not to reveal the trauma he's been carrying. Viewers are already aware that Todd recently decided to give Theo another chance, completely oblivious to the fact that Theo was responsible for abandoning Billy Mayhew after the devastating multi-vehicle crash. In the latest episode, Sarah stopped by the Undertakers and opened up to George about her growing concerns. She admitted that she feared Todd was finding it hard to cope in the aftermath of Billy's death. George expressed sympathy, noting that Todd seemed unsettled and not himself lately. Sarah then raised another worry, asking whether Todd might be struggling with money, explaining that he had lashed out at her and that she had caught him desperately looking for loose change. Later on, Sarah gently persuaded Todd to join her at the Rovers, where George and Christina were already waiting. Wanting to lift his spirits, they bought him several drinks and ordered food for the table. Todd appeared uneasy about their generosity and questioned their motives. Christina reassured him, explaining that everyone was simply concerned about how he was coping after the crash and believed he was lonely without Theo around. She admitted the attention might feel a little overbearing, but encouraged Todd to stop overthinking and enjoy being looked after for once. This moment raises the question of whether Todd's support network is finally beginning to sense that something isn't right behind closed doors. Discussing the intense storyline recently, producer Kate Brooks confirmed that Todd and Theo's relationship will remain a major focus as the year unfolds, with more characters starting to see through Theo's behavior. She explained that Todd is surrounded by a strong chosen family who genuinely care about him. She highlighted George as someone Todd deeply loves, along with Summer, Christina, and Gary, who all form part of his support system. According to Brooks, these people are beginning to notice that Todd isn't acting like himself and that he's becoming a fragile version of who he once was. She added that the storyline will explore how those around Todd respond, how they come together to protect him, and how they navigate such a sensitive and complex situation. Todd Grimshaw completely unravels in Coronation Street following a series of shocking actions by Theo. A deeply shaken Todd is driven to his absolute limit as his poisonous relationship with Theo Silverton continues to spiral out of control. After enduring so much cruelty, it was inevitable that Todd would eventually crack, and when he does, someone else ends up paying the price. For a long time now, Todd has been trapped in a cycle of coercive behavior, emotional cruelty, psychological manipulation, and terrifying episodes of violence inflicted by Theo. The situation has become so extreme that several people around Todd have begun to sense that something isn't right, with even the authorities becoming involved at one point. Despite this, Theo has consistently managed to charm his way out of trouble by presenting himself as the perfect partner. Things took a devastating turn following the death of Billy Mayhew. Losing his closest friend and former partner in the Corrie disaster left Todd utterly broken, particularly because Billy was the only person he had ever trusted with the truth about Theo's abuse. What Todd doesn't realize is that Theo, driven by jealousy, deliberately abandoned Billy in the burning wreckage of the minibus. In the aftermath of Billy's death, Theo notices Todd growing more withdrawn, which only fuels his determination to tighten his grip and keep Todd under control. The strain has already left its mark on Todd. He was furious when Theo insisted on delivering the funeral speech at Billy's service, hijacking the moment for his own benefit and twisting events to make Todd feel responsible for his friend's death. Now Theo discovers another method to dominate and punish Todd by controlling his finances. After intercepting unpaid bills that arrived in the post, Theo seizes the opportunity to shame Todd, accusing him of being careless and irresponsible with money. He pressures Todd into destroying his credit cards and agreeing to share a bank account before restricting him to a tiny allowance to survive on. With Theo firmly in charge of the household finances, people around Weatherfield, including Sarah Platt and George Shuttleworth, start to notice that Todd is clearly struggling to get by. This latest tactic is yet another form of abuse, and upcoming scenes see Todd pushed beyond endurance, lashing out at an innocent resident on the cobbles. When Todd meets James Bailey for brunch, he's humiliated to discover he can't afford to pay and ends up relying on James to cover the bill. Later, Theo mocks Todd for supposedly wasting money, flings a small note at him, and orders him to buy dinner while insisting he keep the receipt. While Todd is out, Theo cruelly throws Billy's photograph into the bin. After Todd returns home, Theo confronts him with a takeaway container he found outside, criticizes the calorie content of the food, and commands Todd to go for a run. James looks on uneasily as Todd struggles painfully down the street. Back at the flat, Todd realizes Billy's photo has vanished. Will Theo admit what he's done? That silence speaks volumes. The night ends with Todd visibly injured, massaging his neck in discomfort. The following morning, Theo smirks when he spots a love bite on Todd. Todd's misery deepens further when a furious woman named Annie threatens legal action against George over a tampered will. Later that day, while at the shop, Todd finally snaps when Jake Windus mocks him about the mark on his neck. This cruel taunt becomes the final trigger for Todd, who unleashes his bottled-up rage at the wrong target, snapping viciously at the young boy. Gary Windass is forced to step in, leaving Todd horrified by his own behavior. At his absolute lowest, Todd heads home, where Theo is waiting, having just received a phone call from Gary. ITV Coronation Street fans are convinced that Theo Silverton's downfall has already been set in motion, with some predicting a shocking murder twist. Viewers of the long-running soap will remember that Todd Grimshaw crossed paths with scaffolder Theo back in March 2025, and the pair quickly struck up a relationship. It later emerged that Theo was secretly married to a woman named Danielle, with the couple sharing 2 children together. Theo also disclosed that he had been subjected to conversion therapy during his younger years. Despite this revelation, a darker side of Theo soon surfaced, as his temper became increasingly volatile and he regularly directed his anger towards Todd. Over time, Todd has suffered prolonged coercive control, emotional cruelty, manipulation, and deeply disturbing domestic abuse at Theo's hands. Todd's closest confidant, local vicar Billy Mayhew, eventually discovered the truth after Todd shared video footage exposing the abuse during Debbie Webster's wedding celebration last month. Sadly, Billy was unable to get Todd the help he desperately needed, as he was killed in the devastating Corriedale crash. What the rest of the community doesn't know is that Theo deliberately left Billy trapped inside the burning minibus, later convincing Todd that he was responsible for his friend's death. Following Billy's passing, Theo has continued to exert power over Todd, most recently tightening his control by taking charge of his finances and limiting him to a tiny daily allowance. Now, Coronation Street viewers are increasingly convinced that Theo's time on the cobbles may soon be coming to an end. Many believe that Todd's adopted daughter, Summer Spellman, could be the one to finally stop Theo after uncovering the truth about his abusive behavior. One fan shared their theory on a Facebook discussion page, suggesting that Summer could strike Theo with a chair while trying to protect Todd during an attack. The viewer went on to speculate that Theo's body could then be hidden in another person's coffin at the undertaker's before Summer leaves the country to start a fresh life. Another fan praised the idea, calling it a perfect resolution, while a third noted that such a dramatic outcome would not be surprising given the current direction of the show. A fourth viewer echoed those sentiments, saying they hoped the storyline would conclude with Todd finally finding peace and justice. Others agreed, expressing frustration that the plot has dragged on for so long and hoping for a decisive ending. These theories come as the ITV soap prepares to air a special flash-forward episode later this month in which a resident stumbles upon a dead body. Initially, the identity of the corpse will be kept secret, only to be revealed gradually as the storyline unfolds. Could Theo be the victim? Viewers will have to wait and see. 9 Coronation Street spoilers for next week. Mystery victim exposed in dramatic flash-forward episode. Chaos is brewing on the cobbles as Coronation Street lines up a packed week ahead, launching a brand new murder mystery. Carl stirs up trouble while secretly plotting arson, Sam closes in on Megan and Will, and Debbie finds herself making dangerous enemies. Weatherfield is about to be turned upside down as the ITV soap introduces an ambitious flash-forward storyline. Airing on Monday, the episode focuses less on who committed the crime and more on who ends up dead, with viewers still in the dark about the identity of the victim whose fate will be sealed in April. Elsewhere, Carl Webster drops a bombshell on Ronnie Bailey by revealing that Debbie, who he has always referred to as his sister, is actually his mother. Debbie's situation behind bars continues to deteriorate when she comes face to face with a former hotel guest, Paula, who proves to be far from friendly. At the same time, Sam Blakeman secretly installs a hidden camera in a bid to gather proof that Megan Walsh is abusing Will. Mal Roper attempts to win over Bernie Winter-Allahan, while Jody Ramsey causes chaos for Lily Platt and Hope Dobbs. Here's everything you can expect from Coronation Street episodes airing between Monday the 16th of February and Friday the 20th of February. 9 Coronation Street spoilers next week. 1 Weatherfield jumps forward to April and a brutal murder. A special time-jumping episode switches between present-day scenes and the future, with Betsy Swain being questioned by police after discovering a lifeless body. Dressed glamorously, it's clear she was attending what should have been a happy event, one that has taken a horrifying turn. As detectives rewind the interview tape, it's revealed that the scenes actually take place in April 2026. The story begins to unfold, pointing to 5 possible victims, each with reason to be targeted. But which one will lose their life, and who will be responsible when the truth finally comes out? 2 Carl Webster sets his sights on torching the hotel. Driven by a thirst for revenge, Carl becomes fixated on destroying the Chariot Square Hotel and ropes in an associate named Jez to help carry out his dangerous plan. Over the phone, Carl carefully talks Jez through how to start a fire without drawing attention. Jez soon turns up at the hotel and casually introduces himself to Ronnie, pretending to be a handyman searching for work. While Ronnie is distracted elsewhere, Jez seizes the moment to discreetly photograph fire exits and security cameras before slipping away unnoticed. Later on, Carl and Jez reunite to review everything Jez discovered, refining the details of their arson plot. However, just as Carl is about to leave, the situation suddenly shifts. Ronnie approaches Jez, snaps a photo of him on his phone, and issues a clear warning, branding Carl as bad news. That warning quickly escalates into a heated showdown. Ronnie confronts Carl directly, only for Carl to drop a shocking revelation. Debbie is actually his mother, and he insists she will always stand by him no matter what. Not content to let things lie, Carl later tells Kit Green that he intends to report Ronnie for assault, pushing the conflict to a new and dangerous level. Meanwhile, in prison, Debbie receives unexpected news when an officer tells her that her son has arranged a visit. When they meet in the visiting room, Debbie assures him that once she's released, she'll do everything possible to repair their fractured relationship. 3. Sam Blakeman hides a secret camera to expose Megan Walsh. Sam's doubts about Megan continue to grow, and he confides in Daniel that with his former stepmother Leanne out of town, he plans to revise in the salon flat. At the same time, Megan takes a call from Will and casually tells him she'll have the place to herself for a few nights. Eager to take advantage of the opportunity, Will lies to his dad Ben, claiming a friend has invited him to stay over. Ben immediately refuses, but later, when Daniel turns up at the Rovers and awkwardly apologizes to Will, the atmosphere softens and the two share a tense handshake. Suddenly, Ben changes his mind and agrees to let Will stay the night after all. Before long, Will heads towards the flat carrying a holdall, while Sam secretly observes from nearby as Megan lets him inside. Later, Sam sneaks into the flat himself, startling Megan, and once she leaves, he quietly clears space on a shelf to set something up. Megan later tells Will about Sam letting himself in, insisting they need to win him over. Will hatches a plan, pretending to be friendly with Sam and offering him vodka as a peace gesture. Sam plays along, aware it could help him gather crucial information. At the precinct, Will reassures Sam that whatever is happening between him and Megan is purely work-related. Sam remains unconvinced, and the situation becomes tense when Daniel suddenly appears, prompting Will to bolt. Sam is thrilled when he logs into his hidden camera app and sees Megan and Will entering the flat, only for his excitement to crash when the battery suddenly dies. Later in the week, Eva Price invites Toya Battersby to join her, Leanne and Megan for a girls' night out. During the evening, Leanne jokingly suggests to Toya and Eva that she's convinced Megan and Daniel have been using the flat as a secret love nest. At the bar, Megan pulls Sam aside and delivers a quiet but sinister warning, insisting that if he ever speaks out, no one will believe him, and that he's not as clever as he thinks. With his phone finally recharged, Sam watches the hidden camera footage at last. Could this finally bring Megan's abuse to an end? 4 Mal Roper attempts to charm Bernie winner Allahan. Mal proudly shows off a pouch of crystals he's bought, telling Brian that he's been researching their supposed healing qualities. Bernie, however, remains thoroughly unimpressed. She immediately sees through his efforts, realizing this has nothing to do with self-discovery and everything to do with Mal trying to score points with her. Already on edge, Bernie snaps, and Jody quickly notices that Mal seems to be the main target of her irritation. The question is whether Jody will use this observation to her advantage. Refusing to give up, Mal sets out to gather information, grilling Chesney in an attempt to uncover Bernie's favorite crystal. He then takes things a step further by inviting Bernie back to the flat so they can spend some time alone together. After everything that's happened, will Bernie indulge him, or will she see straight through the performance? 5. Jody Ramsey secretly enjoys David Platt's attention. David returns home and is furious to discover Jody and Carl half-dressed and wrapped around each other. He immediately throws Carl out of the house, unaware that Jody is quietly delighted by the attention she's getting from her brother-in-law. Is Shona about to realize that Jody may be setting her sights on her husband? 6. Debbie Webster comes face-to-face with prison power. Inside the prison, Debbie makes an awkward mistake by calling Lou by the wrong name before gently explaining that she has been diagnosed with young-onset dementia. Another inmate, Paula, recognizes her straight away, and Lou quickly warns Debbie that Paula is bad news and should be avoided at all costs. Before Lou can keep an eye on the situation, Paula corners Debbie and pointedly reminds her that she was once banned from the hotel. Later, as Debbie keeps to herself in her cell, Paula suddenly storms in and breaks down, revealing that her boyfriend has dumped her while serving time for aggravated burglary. Feeling sympathy, Debbie tries to comfort her. When Ronnie later visits with Kevin, he reveals that Carl has told him the truth about Debbie being his mother. Debbie confirms it, leaving both men struggling to take in the revelation. 7. Lily Platt's new job sparks chaos for Hope Dobbs. David lands Lily a job at the cabin, and she's thrilled until he admits that the real bonus for him is getting her out of the house in the mornings. Lily's first shift quickly goes off the rails when she secretly dumps a stack of newspapers in the bin. The discarded papers are later discovered by Hope, who returns them to Rita, accidentally exposing Lily's mistake. Hope then uses the situation to rope Rita into helping her with her Duke of Edinburgh award, but her plan backfires when she makes a cheeky comment about Rita's age and receives a frosty response. Before long, Brian informs David and Shona that he needs to have a serious conversation about Lily. Jody wastes no time stirring trouble, telling Hope that Brian and Rita treated Lily terribly. When Hope tries to defend them, Jody plants a cruel seed by suggesting they could be gossiping about her behind her back. Those fears seem to be confirmed when Hope later overhears Brian and Rita discussing her troubled history inside the cabin. 8. Maggie Driscoll interferes in Ollie's romance. Maggie admits to Ben and Eva that she doesn't approve of Lauren and deliberately scheduled her for work in order to sabotage her next date with Ollie. When the young couple flirt behind the bar, Maggie becomes visibly annoyed and orders Lauren to focus on her duties. Will Maggie ever stop meddling in the love lives of those closest to her? 9. Tim Metcalf bristles over Steve McDonald's new bond. Tim sits in the Rovers nursing a drink, growing increasingly uneasy as he watches Steve enjoying a laugh with Ben. When Steve heads off to the toilet, Tim makes it very clear that he is supposed to be Steve's best friend. It soon becomes apparent that Steve and Ben have more in common than Tim expected, and the pair even end up playing darts together. But where does that leave Tim? And could this new friendship leave him feeling pushed aside? Coronation Street unveils secret camera shock in Megan and Sam showdown. Coronation Street reveals that Sam Blakeman will take a dangerous gamble next week as he attempts to uncover Megan Walsh's wrongdoing. Convinced she's hiding something sinister, Sam sets out to gather proof of her inappropriate involvement with Will Driscoll. But will his bold move expose the truth or leave him dangerously exposed? Refusing to back down, Sam devises a high-risk plan to catch the manipulative teacher out by secretly planting a camera inside Megan's flat. However, the closer he gets to the truth, the more likely it is that his scheme could spiral out of control. Megan believes she's managed to silence Sam's suspicions, reveals a show insider, but she's badly underestimating Weatherfield's brightest young mind. Although shaken by Megan's thinly veiled warnings to stay out of her affairs, Sam remains determined to expose her real behavior. The question is whether he can finally outmaneuver her. With Leanne away for a few nights, Megan has full use of the salon flat and wastes no time telling a thrilled Will that they can spend time together there. Will lies to his dad Ben, claiming he's staying over at a friend's house before sneaking off to Megan's flat to continue their disturbing secret.